The Numbers Game with Gill Alexander on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Make this football season your best sports betting season ever. Start your VSiN free trial today to get full access to our sports betting experts, including 24/7 video streaming, daily best bet emails, betting splits with the money and ticket percentages on every game, plus full access to VSiN.com data and analysis. You get everything VSiN has to offer for only $22 per month. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSiN.com/subscribe. So pulling back the curtain a little bit, by the way, it's Gill Alexander. Jeff Parlay is here as well. Jeff and I are going to go through our contest entry thoughts on a Tuesday, a little later on the show. So yesterday, before guessing lines, what was it about, 6:58 Eastern, Pacific, pardon me, I forgot where we were, 6:57, 6:58 Pacific, and we're like, well, where's Chrissy? We got to do guessing lines. And so then we see Chrissy emerge from his office behind us, and John the barber stops him on the way here, and we're like, oh no, he's going to be late because he's going to talk about preseason hockey. And sure enough, that's exactly what John the barber was bending Chrissy's ear about. Chris did get here, but the passion for preseason hockey from John the barber lets us say to ourselves, I think it's hockey season. And that means Andy MacNeil from his lair somewhere in Edmonton, Alberta. New studio, Capitals baseball cap. Thank you, sir. It's Andy MacNeil. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I gotta get off on the right foot here with my buddy Gill Alexander, right? Support his team, but I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing very well. You got a numbers game back there, man. Well done, BetMGM. Look at you. Brand new studio. Got all the little accoutrements. All right, so the betting guide is out. Let's start there. The 2021-22 VSiN NHL betting guide. How long did it take you to complete this? How long did you work on this?
I don't have a count on the hours, but a few weeks, probably about 4 weeks altogether to button everything up.
Season wins, futures, everything in there, strategies, best bets, in-depth analysis from experts, plural. So it's not just you, Andy? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's mostly just me, but yeah, maybe I missed something.
Just checking. Only they had plural, so I had to ask. Only $9.99 at VSiN.com/subscribe. We will get to
Honestly, I think it's worth it for the schedule tracker alone, right? I mean, you've got a full breakdown of all the tired spots, rest days, everything like that. Then the projections, everything else is just a bonus, in my opinion.
No, I mean, you're being humble about the bonus part. But yes, the schedule tracker is a huge thing. A lot of what you do involves that. Before we get to a couple of the things, because I want people to go and get the betting guide, so we don't want to give away everything in there. We couldn't possibly in this segment, but I do want to get to a couple of your picks coming up. But before we do, you are also working on something else. Could you talk about that? Because I think this is even as great as and exciting as the guide is, this might even be more so.
Yeah, so, coming back to VSiN full time here, I let them know that I really, wanted to do things a little bit differently this time around. If I was going to, be a lot more hands-on, obviously, now going forward, I wanted to have the resources behind me to really give people the product that they deserve if they're paying for something. And, how betting groups work, and I know I don't have to tell you this, but they find different people with different skill sets, and everybody works towards a common goal. So I was able to help broker a partnership between VSiN and Range Hockey, which is head up by my good friend and somebody that I've collaborated with on a lot over the years, Cole Anderson. He's a former goaltender and a data scientist who's the smartest guy I've met in this space. And together we came up with something really cool, and it's called the Propagator, and it's a comprehensive and dynamic player prop pricing tool. So every day, every game, every player's goal, assist, and point projection, and we've got a range to look at, whether it's over 1.5 goals or 2.5 goals, things like that. And we've got shots too, so we can look at over any shot total right up until 4.5 or 5.5, I believe. So we've got a lot to work with this year, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to be delivered to everybody yet. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have a page on the website where people will find the player props that I like the most each day. But we're definitely looking at getting this out to people in other ways too. Maybe a live stream to start the season. Not sure on the exact details yet, but something where I take people through, maybe 45 minutes or so, where we just break down the entire slate and explore this app and see what it has to offer us.
Andy, that is freaking fantastic. That is like super exciting. I mean that from a super nerd hockey betting perspective, and I'm not a hockey bettor, and most people listening to this, let's face it, are not hockey bettors, but probably have some interest, right? When football clears, yeah, they will be now. People like money, right? It's like, hey, Gill, I didn't really like tennis till I, started betting tennis. This is awesome because, in previous years, we're going to talk about the betting guide here momentarily, a couple of your picks. That's always the crown jewel before a season starts. And then it's like, okay, now the season begins and sometimes people get lost. But this is daily. And I was going to ask you how it's going to get delivered. And that's still being worked out, as you said. But it looks like in some form on a daily basis, you will have props galore. And this will be a living, breathing thing on a daily basis. So shout out to you and your buddy. Give him a shout. His name again?
Cole Anderson. He has no plans on being front and center in the public eye. He's working on things behind the scenes. But like I said, he's there. He's making sure everything's working right on a daily basis. And like I said, I'm looking at this as if I'm kind of operating a betting group here, right? And
right.
I went out and looked to build a team, and I feel like we've got the power of a dozen people right here. So maybe it was right to say experts, plural, in the guide there.
It's awesome, man. And by the way, if people can see how meticulously you put together your studio, that is a reflection of how meticulously these two guys worked on the propagator. I love that. All right, so we have about 4 minutes. Let's do 2 minutes on each of these. You have that Vegas Golden Knights thing happening behind you, a jersey, so it reminds me of the Seattle Kraken, who are in their expansion year this year. What is your prognosis for them, and are there bets to be made on Seattle?
Well, at first blush, it doesn't look like the Kraken have made out as well as the Golden Knights did in their expansion draft, and it kind of, some of the decisions they made have left the hockey community as a whole kind of scratching their heads. But it's a pretty solid team, and specifically from the goaltending out to the back end, really, really solid defense corps. But I'm just left wondering where the goals are going to come from. I think Yanni Gourde is their best offensive player, and he's not going to be in the lineup for the foreseeable future. Looks like, he's still recovering from off-season surgery after emptying the tank and playing with an injury during those back-to-back Stanley Cup runs with the Lightning. So it's going to be tough in a division that has the Golden Knights, and it's a weak division overall. Let me just say that, but some scary offensive talent in that division. The Oilers, of course, have a really scary offensive group. The Flames, not too shabby themselves, and the Canucks got a lot better offensively, which they were already pretty good to begin with. So. As good as the Kraken might be, as well structured as they might be, it's hard to see this being a cruise for this team. I've got them projected around 90 points. Let me just verify that here, 90.5 points, and think they'll miss the playoffs more than 50% of the time. I think a fair line on the Kraken missing the playoffs is around minus 130, and I've seen plus money out there. I believe it was plus 115 at the book that I referenced in the guide. I'm not sure what you guys see there, but there's definitely a bet out there to be made on the Kraken to miss the playoffs. Their point total under was, it was advantageous to bet that, but that has moved. It was up around 96, I believe, and then down to 94.5, and now it's down around 92.5, if I recall correctly.
All right, I probably should ask you this on MSG Plus too, because there's Islanders fans galore listening to that I do with Matt Brown and Kelly Bidlin. But I'll ask you about the Islanders, and specifically a pretty sexy bet here on that team.
Yeah. I mean, the Islanders were a team that I was, sort of not sure on heading out of last season. I wasn't kind of sure what kind of roster turnover we'd see there. This team, they've been close a lot, right? But they've failed to get the job done and achieve that ultimate goal of at least reaching the Stanley Cup final. But they made some moves. They lost Jordan Eberle, but I think between some of the potential that's in a young player like Anthony Beauvillier and Zach Parise, whatever he's got left, they might not even notice that Eberle's gone. They've got great goaltending, but they don't rely on it. It's for some teams, goaltending is a crutch. The goaltending in Long Island is more of a complement to the overall team. But at 25-1, you've got to like the Islanders to win the President's Trophy. I think they are arguably the class of the Metropolitan Division. So many other teams have warts that the Islanders don't have to deal with, and at a big price like that, I think it should be priced closer to around plus 2,100. So there's definitely some value there for sure. And I think there's some bets to be made on them to win the Metropolitan Division, but it depends what book you're at. I think MGM has plus 400, and at that price, it's a good bet.
All right, Andy MacNeil, let's talk again about season points totals. We'll have you back at Digital Gambler. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, guys.
Andy MacNeil on hockey.